So it's 4:16, so we'll go get this on a Friday afternoon. So we may as well get started. Listen, I'm going to be honest. The NBF hat, I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of NBF, but the honest to goodness truth is it's been a couple of months since I've had a haircut. So we're going to, been cooped up in the basement, nowhere to get my haircut. This weekend is when it is. I can get my haircut. So I won't
It's
have to.
exciting moment.
Yeah. So you got the hat in the background.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thought I'd bring it to the forefront.
I did have my toque on 3 minutes ago, but Ange said I should probably take it off.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. I don't know. I may keep the hat thing going because
Yeah.
we're not getting any more hair. We're not growing more hair as we get older. Hey, Ben?
That's true.
Yep.
Something to think about.
Okay, I'm sure everybody didn't show up to listen to about our hair and our hats, so we're gonna get started. We'll just start off short week this week, but it was busy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people trading, a lot of stuff going on. It's the last week of RSP season, so that's been keeping our admin office busy. Admin office by me, meaning. So just to let people know, we're going to send out a last call for contributions. RSP contributions was the last day is on the 1st, so we're going to send out a last call for that. I think most of the people that are on this tend to be the keeners, so
Malcolm,
people haven't got their stuff in.
Lyle just raised his hand.
I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hang on a sec here. Yeah, Lyle, go ahead.
There is.
Hey, Lyle.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was a mistake on my part. I didn't intend to raise my hand. Can you see me? Are you able to see? Can you see me?
Can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. Well, sorry about that. It was just a mistake. I don't know.
No worries.
I'm on a cell phone, so my fingers are bigger than the icons.
Okay. No problem.
What you're doing. Anyways,
yeah,
sorry.
No problem. Okay, we'll catch up later. Okay. So so anybody that hasn't contributed to RSP, just let me know, and we'll do that for you. Please don't wait till the last minute if you haven't done it, because it can take a couple days to get through that. Also, if you have any other, because we're kind of in that season right now and just finishing our transition to there is a bit of a wait time for any kind of processing of whether you have transfers or anything like that. So we're doing them as quickly as we can, but it could also take a day or two. So if there's any kind of urgency, let us know that it's urgent, right? Otherwise, right now it's taking us a few days to process anything. So, okay, great. I don't know if a lot of people saw, but we launched our podcast and video with our guest, Jessica Houle, who is an estate lawyer who talked more about wills in more detail. So it was a lot more technical, obviously, than the Tom Dean's thing. So hopefully people have seen that. If not, I'm going to put it in the chat here right now. It's also available on our YouTube channel as well. So I'll put the link there as well. Okay.
Yeah, Jessica was really good. Went in a lot of detail with us. She's got we got a follow-up plan with her.
Yeah.
Some more case studies, so that should be pretty great.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I do want to point something out because I don't think Ben would do this ever, but he's crushing it in the market right now. I'm sure if you've seen your portfolios being across, just pretty much across the board, he's doing a great job right now for everybody, and everybody's making money. And it's a great time for that. And a lot of that's thanks to Ben, just, paying attention and being ahead of the market. I think that's one thing that differentiates us. And Ben, maybe you can talk to this a little bit from other advisors. Is it would be quite different if you were just in a regular index fund, right? Which is what a lot of advisors do, right? So maybe you can just touch briefly. I mean, no, we're not trying to sell people here, just
Yeah, yeah,
kind of explain
yeah.
about how it works and how maybe you're positioned a bit differently than other advisors.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that there's lots going on. As I looked yesterday, I think obviously we did report a podcast last night, but so as I looked across the board yesterday, it was a pretty red day across the markets. But you know, those few green highlights, like the Container Store was up 12%, and some of these consumer discretionary names that we've been buying that everybody hates have started to have some pretty good moves. And you know, I think the objective is always to try to make sure you're being positioned for what's coming ahead instead of what's kind of worked in the past. So it's a constant look at what's going on and what's going on in the markets. And again, today the market gave you opportunities. I believe bonds were down and stocks were pretty flat most of the day. So there's opportunities when that happens. And you know, you had tech down again today, technology that is. So took advantage of that and bought some Facebook and Apple, which haven't bought in a long time. So just thinking about, you know, that what works during this part of the cycle is very important and certainly been a differentiator. So I know we're going to talk about Bitcoin, which I'll leave for further to discuss when we get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will talk about that.
Yep.
So yeah, I think just getting into it, kind of the world events. I believe I read today was kind of the anniversary of the beginning of the pandemic. I can't believe it's been a full year since we've been talking about that, or it's kind of entered our lives, but and it's still here. You know, I think when I remember first hearing about it, number one, I just kind of dismissed it, thought it was you know, fake news or you know, overblown media hype, right? As most things are. But it turned out it hasn't. So, and man, as far as the markets are concerned, there's been a big change since, you know, this time last year, right? Starting in March, really.
Yeah, so I mean, things are selling off for sure at this point. We're just starting to get in the weeds. The puts that we owned in portfolios were skyrocketing. Volatility was going bananas. So it's a very different time than 12 months ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what's on your mind. Well, let's go through about what we did this week. I know you were busy this
Sure.
week.
Yeah.
So let's start with that.
Yeah, I guess shortened week, but from an activity perspective, it hasn't stopped. You know, I think so. I'll give you maybe a quick highlight on what we did. We added to retail in the U.S. XRT, Nasdaq either through QQQ or XLK technology. As I mentioned, Facebook and Apple. The other position that I'd started last week was QuantumScape, added to the position again this week, and they had earnings out on Tuesday night, I guess. So the stock popped about 20% on their earnings. So that's Bill Gates' company, battery company. That you know, that's been a good move. I think that's a good company to own now, but also I think longer term. So I continue to look at that as a good position. A few of the others, there's a couple of the SPACs. I know we had some questions about SPACs last time, so I do own a couple of them, CLA and BSPE. CLA is in talks to buy Ouster, Ouster. If that happens, that could be quite positive for it. And CLA is trading around the $10 original NAV price. So lots going on there, and so lots of action there. And then from I guess the biggest decision of the week was to trim some of the Bitcoin today. And so I guess as I think about, you know, what and where we are in the cycle, you know, we've had for the, you know, I guess we'll talk about it now, but we had the first Bitcoin ETF launch in the world yesterday on the TSX. So Canada was the first one to launch a Bitcoin ETF. So we've had a lot of suck of money into that ETF. There was 200 million in it yesterday. There's more that flowed into it today. You know, I just starting to feel, I guess, a little bit of, you know, trying to manage the risk within portfolios. So I reduced positions by 15%. So really looking to manage the risk, the portfolios that had exposure to this. It's been a big move, and just trying to limit some of that risk. So I've been trimming the profits on that. And that was a big decision because the trajectory has been up. We touched kind of 54,000 or so today on Bitcoin. Lots of talk of potential upside, and maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Just seemed like there a lot of hype, a lot of push into the launch of the ETF gives me some cause for pause and saying, let's look to lock in some profits and take some off the table.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of that, we know that there's been a lot of, I mean, we get feedback from our clients all the time, but it's very interesting. There always seems to be strong opinions about Bitcoin and its place, right?
Mm.
So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to launch a poll. This is a new feature in this, where we're actually going to take a live poll.
Mm.
Let's see if everybody can see this. Ben, can you see that?
I can see that. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see if you can click on what you think, what you're feeling on Bitcoin is. You're all in.
Yeah.
You think it's gambling. You're not sure. You're cautiously optimistic. I don't have that. Can you click on that, Ben? Can you cast a vote?
I can't cast a vote, no, because we're participants, so we can't cast a vote. So your all-in category is not going to have any fills in them, unfortunately.
I know. I knew we'd have two in there at least. Two in there.
You have that's good. Interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So I think if we were to take the same poll a couple months ago, and it'd be interesting if somebody could tell me in the chat what, and maybe it can be or anybody, if you guys see the results in there as well.
Yeah, we can see them. Can you see them or no?
I see them.
Yeah.
No,
no.
they can't see the
can't see
results.
them.
So they're
Okay.
probably interested too. So we may as well give
Yeah.
them the results.
We'll
So
tell them, yeah.
we got 0 all in. That's because Ben and I couldn't vote.
And I wouldn't be there either. I'd be in the cautiously optimistic bucket.
I'd be all in, but for everybody's sake, that's why Ben's in the driver's seat, right? So we have 60% is cautiously optimistic, 30% think it's gambling, and 1% or 10% say they're not sure. So that's interesting. So yeah, I think if we were to pull that 2 months ago, I think all but 100% would probably be think it's gambling. So I think the tides are shifting as more information comes out and people understand it better. But yeah, actually today I would say I'm probably more in the cautiously optimistic too. So because I think it's had a huge run, and I think it's just nothing can just go straight up forever, right? So
yeah,
cool.
Yep.
What else?
So I guess around that, there's a lot of activity. Want to just give an update. Last couple of times I've been kind of updating on what what's been happening in the new issue space. So there's been lots of money. Okay, that's been flowing into the market. So there's continues to be lots of liquidity in the market. So last week we had a pile of deals, both equity and bond raises. And just before we got on the call, MicroStrategy closed a convertible debenture, which I'll comment on at the end. But from an equity point in Canada, we had Loop Energy, ABC Technologies, Brookfield, Spartan Energy, Dye & Durham. So Dye & Durham is the name I've been watching. So that's one that I think I'll buy. Not the new issue because it's been trading below issue, but I'll look to take advantage of the weakness to buy that. From a bond perspective, we had Cineplex raise some capital today in the bond market. We had H&R Reach do that earlier this week. We had Quebec, province of Quebec, issue some 10 years. So still lots of activity, lots of interest in these issues that are coming to market. MicroStrategy, which is the company that invested heavily in Bitcoin, They did a convertible debenture today, and a convertible debenture is like a hybrid bond. So it's a bond typically that pays a coupon with a conversion feature at a certain price in the future. So MicroStrategy raised 1,050,000,000 in a convertible debenture with a 0 coupon and a 50% conversion premium, and it was oversubscribed. So it's interesting to see how much money's coming, kind of flowing into the system right now and trying to find places to put their capital. And so that was actually quite surprising to see how well that deal went.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot going on this week for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Plus, we had, I mean, Janet Yellen's been very vocal, who's the new Treasury Secretary in the U.S. And as the economic numbers are pretty good, the market's pretty good. She's out there banging the table that there's not enough stimulus, and she's going to do whatever it takes to make sure we put more stimulus in the system. So either we see something or she sees something that we don't see, or she is continuing to try to push this thing along.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just before we move on here too, if you have a question at any point, then you can either put it I'm kind of monitoring everything here, so you can put it in the chat if you want. There's also a Q&A section. You can put it in that. Or if you want to wait till the end, you can raise your hand at the end. And just like we did with Lyle at the start, we'll just activate your microphone and you can ask a question at the end. Okay, Ben. So what are we looking ahead to this week? Or for next week at the end of the month, short month.
Yeah, so I think that the question that I continue to battle with and spend most of my time is rates. What's happening to rates? And so we saw the U.S. 10-year touch. I think we probably closed around 130 today, 134 on the U.S. 10-year. So I think that's a key signal and a key trigger to pay attention to. And so my base case continues to be at some point in the next 3-4 months, we hit that patch where the economic data starts to get weaker again. CPI or inflation starts to show deflationary characteristics again, and so at some point we're going to see that based on the economic information that I follow. And so, when we see that, the stuff that we've been buying here, the tech, the kind of reflation type ideas don't work in that environment. So I have to pivot. So I'm spending a lot of time following that number. What's the top end of the range? We're at, as I say, 134. Maybe it's 150, but I know at 134, it's already putting pressure on the consumer in the U.S. And the central bank's already starting to talk about the concern about where rates have gone. And so they've been talking about this yield curve control. And so yield curve control is essentially the central bank going into the market, buying the bonds and pushing rates down. And so they're trying to flatten that curve to take pressure off the long end. And so, I mean, Japan's been doing this for decades. I think it's coming. Whether they do it overtly or they're actually buying it or they just say they're going to do it and the market does it for them, I think that's coming. And so I think a lot of assets are going to trade off of that. So right now we're kind of party on right now, but the inverse of this, when this backs off, is you get rates falling, you get US dollar rallying, you get gold rallying, you get bonds rallying. So that's not good for kind of the riskier tech type assets, including Bitcoin. So these are the things that I'm incrementally looking at and paying a lot of attention to that US 10-year.
Right.
Yeah.
So as things shift like that, how do you look at that in relation to people's portfolios? Right. So like that's all great information, things that you're watching.
Yep.
Is there like you're looking for signals to get out of certain things and get into certain things? Is that like if I were to really kind of bring it down to a lower level,
right.
that's really what you're looking to do?
Yeah, looking for signals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, when I talk about the trades that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, those are more target price based. So we buy it, hits a price, we exit, or we buy it because it's trading in the range where we want to buy it. But I'm looking for signals for when the macro changes. And
Right.
so right now, there's nothing saying that anything's different. We're still getting growth plus inflation. So yeah, I'm looking for a signal that tells me that the regime is changing, and not just one day, right? I think we looked at yesterday. We had volume down, stocks down, and bonds down. Those signals tend to be everything's normal. It's a normal sell-off. It's just a regular correction within an upward trend. If we get a huge spike in volume, you get volatility up, you get bonds up, you get US dollar up. Well, that's a signal to say maybe we're in a regime change. And I didn't see that yesterday, and we haven't seen that in a while. But that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Just before we ask for questions here, I know like one of the things that we talked about, like we mentioned, we recorded our podcast last night, was volatility and how that used to be a signal of fear in the
Yeah.
marketplace, and maybe we think that's not the case anymore. Maybe just as a preview to the podcast, maybe just mention that real quick, just because you mentioned volatility.
Yeah, so I think that there's so many funds in the world now that are building their portfolios off of this VAR, which is value at risk, and so they price their portfolios around volatility. So they get huge amount of flows now that go into volatility when they're trying to manage their portfolio risk. But what that does is it skews it out. So now it's more of a signal of greed more than anything, and that you look at, I'd almost look at it as the inverse, as as volatility is falling, you're starting to get more and more concerned about where the market is, and that's when you start to think about buying put protection as volatility is lower, which is kind of counterintuitive to what it's been historically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, we'll go into more detail about that on the podcast, which will launch Sunday night usually, or Monday. Okay, so let's open it up to some questions. Anybody have a question? Type it in, raise your hand. Nothing. Oh, Lyle. Trusty old Lyle.
He's
Here
back.
we go.
Should I go ahead?
You go right ahead.
Okay, given all the intense interest and volatility around Bitcoin, my suggestion, I think your clients would welcome it, is that us who are not as sophisticated as you fellows are probably most advanced traders would really appreciate a primer on Bitcoin. I've kind of looked a bit, and whatever I found is just baffles me with its complexity.
Yeah.
So if you have like one or two articles that explain what Bitcoin is, how it's produced, how you can participate, the dynamics around it, and maybe a bit of what the risk is associated with the different participation types.
Yeah.
Nothing extensive, just, one or two articles that would be a primer. I would welcome, I guess, as others would.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've
Excellent.
had a lot of thanks. Paul. We've had a lot of discussions around that, and so we can definitely do that and put those out. And Ben actually had a conversation with somebody last week that we're working to get an episode of the podcast just on crypto to kind of do that exact thing. I think that one probably be worth live streaming so that we can get some live questions as well.
Yeah,
so sure. So that's a great point, Lyle, and we'll definitely do that for everybody.
Yeah, it's a good point for sure. I think that probably I think that there's some in a matter of interpretation as well, and I should probably write something up, and we can pull together some pieces and how I see it as well, and how I see it as a component to portfolios, because it can have questions from people. Yeah, is this gold? Is this a stock? What is it? How do you look at it? And so that's a great point. Appreciate it, and we'll make sure we do something.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's something too that we constantly talk about too. Like, I mean, it's almost like we have to talk about it every week because there's something major in the news every week about it,
Mhm.
right? But it's just a one piece of just one tool that we use in portfolios, right? And even at that, it's very small compared to the rest of the portfolio, but it's constantly in the headlines now. We do get excited about it because it's a new asset class, if I can call it that. But we definitely look at other things as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I look at it as how it plays out at what part of the macro cycle I want to own it as well. So certainly we'll provide something. So that's a definite thing we'll add to the list.
All right, Malcolm asks, what are your thoughts on the U.S. stimulus bill? Will it be a market mover if it happens, or do you think it's already baked in?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I think that I don't think it's going to be a market mover. I do think that it supports the trend that we're in already, which is kind of an expansionary trend. It would have to be a ginormous number in order for it to move the market, like a multiple of what they're talking about right now. So I think that a lot of that is there's a lot of expectation that they're going to continue to stimulate. So I still think that the macro data this summer is going to be bad, and the direction is going to be wrong. So yeah, I think maybe they're trying to get in front of that because they already know that. But forecasts seem to think that we're going to have a pretty good second half, but I would tend to disagree. So it would have to be a huge number to move the market, in my opinion.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Everybody's already started their weekend. Okay, well, we'll call it there then. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We've got a busy week ahead next week, already planning for it. So if there's anything in the meantime, certainly feel free to hit either of us up. Okay. Ben, you have anything to close?
No, I think that's good. Thanks very much for joining us on this Friday afternoon.
Yep.
And everyone have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye now.